Get your Oarsmania deal today.
Oarsman Fairfax Toyota. Let's ride together.
Good morning, America. Breaking news. Stolen plane. An airport employee at Seattle-Tacoma Airport taking off in an empty passenger plane.
Oh, my God.
Doing barrel rolls in the air. Fighter jets sent scrambling.
Yeah, I wouldn't know how to land it. I wasn't really planning on landing it.
All before the aircraft goes down in a fiery crash. The investigation now underway. All the new details as we come on the air this morning.
Battling the flames, California's raging wildfires marching up mountains. New blazes, more evacuations, the intense fights from the air and on the ground. Plus, an arson suspect's bizarre court appearance.
Of words, the White House lashing out at those bombshell allegations from former Trump advisor Omarosa Manigault-Newman. Now she's alleging she's heard a recording of the president using the N-word, what the White House is saying this morning.
Cold case arrest, the murders that went unsolved for almost 35 years. How this man was linked to the brutal crimes and where they found him.
And struck by lightning, the two teens who are walking miracles, their brush with death and the scars to prove it.
Couldn't feel my legs.
And the Good Samaritan who stepped in to help.
Live from ABC News in New York, this is Good Morning America.
And good Saturday morning, everyone. Dan is off. It is great to have Whit Johnson. It is great to have Adrian Bankert at the desk.
Good to be with you.
Yeah, it's great to be with both of you this morning. And thank you for joining us, everybody. We want to take another look at that wild video. An airline employee steals a passenger plane from Seattle's SeaTac Airport, then proceeds to do stunts before crashing.
Just incredible video capturing his maneuvers, doing rolls in the air. Eyewitnesses on the ground shocked at what they were seeing.
Now, initially, they didn't know what the man's motives were. Fighter jets were sent out. There were concerns this could be terror-related.
Yeah, that plane eventually went down in flames on a nearby island, and ABC's Ariel Reshef has been following the story all night and has all the latest details this morning. Ariel, good morning.
Good morning to you guys. The employee somehow commandeering the cockpit of that empty prop plane. Air traffic control desperately trying to coax him out of the sky. Authorities say the doomed flight was in the air about an hour before it crashed.
This morning, dramatic video after authorities say an airline employee stole this plane, bypassing security before taking off.
Are you sure he's not going to hit us?
The wild scene unfolding Friday night at Seattle-Tacoma Airport.
I just kind of want to do a couple maneuvers, see what it can do before I put her down.
Officials say it started around 8 p.m. local time. A 29-year-old Horizon Air grounds employee getting into the cockpit of one of the company's empty planes.
Oh, my God. What is happening right now?
People on the ground capturing the errant flight's every move as it made loops, rolled in the sky, and even plunged toward the water.
It went straight down, and I was like, oh, man, it's going to crash. Like, what is happening? It was really scary. And then all of a sudden it came back up.
NORAD scrambling fighter jets from Portland to intercept the plane as air traffic control kept in contact with the employee, desperately trying to help him land.
I got a lot of people that care about me. It's going to disappoint them to hear that I did this. I would like to apologize to each and every one of them.
The man flying for more than an hour, doing stunts like this.
Nah, everything's peachy. Just did a little circle. It's beautiful. I think I got some gas to go check out the Olympics.
Just did a loop-de-loop.
Eventually crashing on Keytron Island, 25 miles from the airport. The fiery wreckage seen here in this wooded area. The employee did not survive. Officials saying his lack of flying skills and reckless piloting caused the plane to go down.
I wouldn't know how to land it. I wasn't really planning on landing it.
The dangerous spectacle temporarily shutting down the airport, causing major delays, halting departures, even forcing many flights to divert.
All I know is that we landed and we were sitting in a long line just waiting.
It's really just hard to believe. No one on the ground was hurt. The CEO of Alaska Airlines, which operates Horizon, saying this morning his company is working with all authorities as they investigate how this could have happened. The FBI released a statement saying it is looking into this incident, but guys, so far there does not appear to be any nexus to terrorism.
Looks like it had something to do with mental health, though,
yeah,
for sure.
I mean, it's heartbreaking to hear that exchange
So
between
sad.
he and air traffic control.
And he seems so casual about the whole thing, too.
No.
It's
Yeah,
incredibly alarming.
terrifying. He talks about flying the plane plane and that he's played video games in the past and knows how to do this. And then we see the outcome of this. It's just horrific. Wow.
Thank you very much, Ariel. And earlier I spoke with John Waldron. He was an eyewitness who saw the chaos in the sky. He captured it on his phone. And John, good morning to you. We want to thank you so much for joining us. This is a busy area. It's close to the airport, so you're used to seeing a lot of traffic in the sky. But when did you know that there was something different about what you were seeing?
What really looked at the place to me was the fact that they were following this little twin-engine turboprop around. I just saw the fighters behind this aircraft, and I started rolling the tape.
And this was, you called it a turboprop. It was a commercial plane, a Q400. It seats 76 passengers, so it's not just a small little prop plane. How bizarre was it to see it doing stunts and barrel rolls?
As I'm recording this, all of a sudden, this little turboprop, he pulls the stick back or the yoke back and puts this thing straight up in the air. I thought, oh my God, he's gonna stall the thing out and he's gonna crash. This is not gonna be good. And he recovered. I was actually getting ready to throw my phone down and run for the hills. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. And that's when everything just broke loose. I saw a plume of smoke, a quick flash of flame, and then, of course, the sound of the explosion reached where we were all at, and my heart just sank. I thought, my God, I think that plane just went down.
Did he, from what you saw, did he look like an experienced pilot? Did he look like he knew what he was doing?
At first he did. In fact, there was one point before I started doing the video where it looked like he was on final approach to the Tacoma Narrows Airport. It looked like he either didn't have a lot of flight experience or he was just a stunt pilot, maybe practicing for an air show. It was definitely bizarre. Wasn't anything I planned to see tonight, that's for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, John, we are grateful for your time. We're grateful that you shared your video with us. We do want to remember that this airline employee did lose his life, but once again, we do want to thank you for joining us on this Saturday morning.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me on here with you tonight.
Yeah, he thought at one point he was trying to land, but then heart sank when he saw the smoke.
So terrifying for those witnesses. Amazing. We want to bring in now retired Colonel Steve Ganyard. Steve, thanks so much for joining us, giving us some perspective on all this. Authorities are saying this was an employee of the airline who was able to somehow get into the cockpit of the passenger plane at a major airport and take off. The big question, how can something like this happen? Not just from a security standpoint, but the fact that he was able to maneuver the aircraft.
He was an airline employee, and he was walking around doing his job, and his job was to be around airplanes. So he wouldn't have naturally raised any suspicions. So if he wanted to do what he wanted to do, and clearly this seemed like a planned suicide attempt, he had to do this. Nobody's going to say, hey, what are you doing, when he's going on and doing his normal job. You know, when you get in an airplane, there's no keys going in the ignition. If you can get in that locked front door and you can teach yourself, which you can, how to fly the airplane, or at least how to start the airplane, then there's no reason that he couldn't have taken off and flown this airplane around.
Steve, we see in the videos the F-15 jets following the plane in the sky. Take us inside the cockpit there. What are those jets trying to do in this kind of situation? At what point does shooting the plane down become an option?
Yeah, Adrian, this has been particularly important after 9/11, because in 9/11 they had the same situation where they had to consider shooting down an airliner. These are the guys out of Portland. They're the Air National Guard. They're trained to do this. This is their primary job. They've gone through scenarios where they do the what if. Should I shoot now? They know where the legal boundaries are, but this is a subjective call. And I think as this went on, they could hear that this guy was not anything more than suicidal. He wasn't looking to run this into the Space Needle. What he was doing was sort of a last joyride. And so they probably sensed that, and the best they could do was to fly fairly loose formation and make sure that he, talked to him and try to talk him out into unpopulated areas. But very sad, but it is a judgment call on these Air Force pilots.
And Steve, real quick, just to piggyback off of Whit's point, isn't it worrisome that this could happen so easily? How do we prevent something like this from happening again?
Yeah, Paul, I think in this case it's one of these where he really wanted to do it. He practiced. You know, I looked up this morning, and there's not one, but there are 3 separate, home computer flight programs for this particular airplane. So he went in and he learned how to start it, $59.99, and you can learn how to start and at least manipulate the controls of almost any airplane in the world. So he breaks into the cabin. He knows where the electrical switches are. He knows how, based on this PC game, how to start it up. He takes it off, and we heard very clearly that he had no intention of landing. He got what he wanted out of it, and unfortunately, it's a very sad end to his life.
You wonder if there were warning signs. You wonder if any of his coworkers noticed anything strange about him.
A big wake-up call for the airline industry. Steve Ganyard, retired Colonel, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. We're turning now to the wildfires raging out west. A state of emergency declared in 2 additional counties as firefighters try to protect thousands of homes at risk. And look at this forecast model from the National Weather Service showing the smoke traveling 3,000 miles away to New York City.
It is ominous for sure. The suspect accused of starting the holy fire. He made a bizarre court appearance yesterday. Marcus Moore is in Lake Elsinore, California, where the fires are raging. Marcus, good morning.
Well, Paula and Whit, good morning to you. A lot of relief here. I want you to take a look at this house. It is covered with that red flame retardant. You see it on the walls there. It's even caked on the garage door. And when you walk around this neighborhood, you even see that red sheen covering the streets and driveways here. At one point, the flames were so high they were leaping above this house, and crews managed to save this house and a number of others. But the fight here is not over yet. Overnight, the battle to stop Southern California's holy fire entering its 6th day. Fire charging up this mountain, lighting up the night sky. Dry brush fueling the flames, devouring more than 18,000 acres. Low-flying planes offering hope from above, dumping flame retardant on residential cul-de-sacs. Firefighters' efforts paying off, saving entire neighborhoods. Residents who were expecting the worst now say they owe everything to the men and women on the front line.
I don't know how they saved everything. They're amazing.
But in Northern California, a new fire sparking in Solano County Friday afternoon, prompting evacuations as flames closed in on scores of homes. And not far away, where the devastating car fire has exhausted emergency crews for weeks, new video emerging of firefighters scrambling to contain yet another fire, the Hat Fire, raging out of control at only 15% containment. Meantime, the man accused of starting the massive holy fire, Forrest Clark, facing a judge Friday.
Mr. Clark is charged in several counts involving arson, aggravated arson.
It's a lie. Making several outbursts. His arraignment postponed. Bail set at $1 million. And this fire season is shaping up to be the worst in California history. Right now, more than 13,000 firefighters are in this battle to save lives and homes here across the state. Paula, Whit.
And they can't seem to get a break either.
No, they certainly can't. Thank you very much, Marcus.
Marcus in Lake Elsinore for us this morning. We're turning now to the war of words between the White House and a former Trump advisor.
Yeah, the administration is blasting a new tell-all book by Omarosa Manigault Newman, claiming she is trying to profit from false attacks against the president. And White House correspondent Tara Palmieri has more.
Omarosa Manigault, former reality TV villain turned loyal senior White House official, has had a change of heart.
Omarosa has to go. You're fired.
Months after being fired from the White House late last year, she's dishing on President Trump in her new book, Unhinged. According to The Guardian, which received an advance copy of the book, Omarosa writes that President Trump is, quote, a racist, a bigot, and a misogynist. Even alleging in the book that there's a recording of Trump using the N-word on the set of The Apprentice. Omarosa offering no proof while admitting she's never heard the tape or personally heard Trump use the word. But on Friday, the former Trump aide already contradicting her own version of the events in her tell-all book, telling NPR she has indeed heard the tape of the president making the racial slur.
You have heard this tape?
I heard this tape, but as Bill Pruitt described during that interview, other horrible things.
This morning, the White House quickly dismissing the book. Press Secretary Sarah Sanders called it, quote, riddled with lies and false accusations. But days after Omarosa was fired from the White House, a fact she still disputes, she said this.
I have seen things that have made me uncomfortable.
Even telling our Deborah Roberts Donald Trump was not a racist.
Do you think this president is racist? Absolutely not. I would never sit nor work for someone who I believe to be a racist.
Monagal rose to fame through The Apprentice reality show, being fired in 2 different seasons. She remained close with Trump for 15 years, fiercely defending him on the campaign trail as liaison to the African American community.
Every critic, every detractor will have to bow down to President Trump.
One of the book's more outrageous claims is that the president installed a tanning bed in the White House residence, but a well-placed senior White House official tells us that's just not true.
All right, and that was Tara Palmieri for us at the White House. So far, the president's not commenting on this weekend's anniversary of the deadly Charlottesville protests.
Now, police there and in Washington are bracing for new rallies 1 year after those violent clashes. Eva Pilgrim is in Charlottesville with the story. Eva, good morning.
Good morning, guys. This is where it all happened. This is the street where that car came barreling down, crashing into that group of people. You can see this morning there's actually a blockade in place and a dump truck blocking off the city, and that's at many of the intersections here. They are in preparation for the anniversary events.
This morning, the city of Charlottesville under a state of emergency. The fear, a repeat of this.
You will not replace us.
A year ago, this weekend, city streets became a full-fledged battle zone. These images of men marching on the University of Virginia's campus shook the country. White nationalists converged on this normally quiet college town, protesting plans to remove a statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee.
White lives matter! White lives matter!
And now, on the heels of new rallies planned by Unite the Right, the mother of 32-year-old Heather Heyer, a counter-protester killed when a car police say was driven by a white nationalist, plowed through a crowd of people, is speaking out.
I didn't come to this street for a week. First time I drove past here was right after the funeral, and I screamed. The pain hit me so hard.
Since Heather's death, the Anti-Defamation League says there has been an increase in white supremacist propaganda efforts. This year alone, the ADL tracking almost 500 incidents, more than all of last year. Heather's mom says this weekend she will be standing with many of the same people her daughter did 1 year ago, and hopes this weekend reignites conversations she thinks the country needs to have.
Positive, nonviolent solutions. There's no place for hate.
And one of the distinct things we noticed that's different this morning, a much more visible show of force all around the city of Charlottesville. Last year when we were here, these streets were blocked off with a police car, a police officer, and just a traffic cone. Guys.
Yeah, much different scene 1 year later. Eva, thank you so much for your reporting. Let's send things over to Rob Marciano. Rob, we did have a seat at the table for you, but then we kicked you over to the weather wall.
Well, got to work.
It's still here. It's just empty.
Yeah, exactly. Well, someone's got to stand up and work around here. You guys just sit down, right?
We'll take it easy.
I want to revisit what's going on out west. Again, the holy fire out there now, 19,000 acres burned, only 10% containment and burning aggressively. No doubt about that across parts of Southern California. Northern California, we had red flag warnings again posted there across the Pacific Northwest, parts of Idaho, Montana as well. Excessive heat warnings too. Boise, Idaho yesterday, 1 degree away from an all-time record. And you're going to see similar numbers today, some cooling across the Northwest, but parts of Montana will see temperatures up and over 100 degrees today, and then eventually cooling off towards Monday and Tuesday. And some of the smoke, as we mentioned, getting all the way to the East Coast, some of it pretty thick as far east as Minnesota. Across the Northeast today, we have flash flood watches posted for rounds of heavy rain. More on that in the next half hour. Time now for a look at your local weather forecast.
Mostly cloudy and humid early this Saturday morning. We may have an isolated shower, otherwise just dry and humid. Mostly cloudy at lunchtime, 86. After 2 o'clock, we'll see more showers and thunderstorms developing. Could have some heavy rain. I mean, it's definitely very humid. 88 at 3 o'clock, 83 at 7. And if you do have plans later tonight, keep that Stormwatch 7 weather app handy as well as your umbrella. And it looks like tomorrow's weather very similar to today. And starting off our new work week next week, pretty unsettled.
Seats are kind of hard.
Don't get used to it.
Overrated.
You gotta break it in.
Yeah.
You gotta break it in.
We like the seats. We thought you'd like it
You
too.
look terrific in these seats.
Thank you, Rob.
You do too,
Good
but
to
we
see
like you
you
better over there.
I don't know how to take it anymore.
The abuse, it never ends. Rob, thanks so much. Let's get a check of the rest of the day's headlines with Ron here. Good to see you as well.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Good morning
Yes.
to you, Whit and Adrian. Sorry, Paula and Robert. Good morning to you. Good morning, everyone. We're going to begin in San Francisco with a landmark decision by a jury ordering chemical giant Monsanto to pay $289 million to a school groundskeeper with terminal cancer. After 2.5 days, the jury found that Dwayne Johnson's non-Hodgkin lymphoma was at least partly due to the primary ingredient in Roundup, a weed killer which he routinely used at work. Monsanto says it will appeal that jury decision. In Missouri, 3 teenagers from the Kansas City area were killed in